9. Well, it is the end of day 9. We had a very interesting day. We went to the National Theater. We toured the National Theater and all that it had to offer. Now, what's interesting about the National Theater is that it is actually 3 theaters in one. It is kind of like TPAC at home. It's got the biggest theater, which is called the Olivier, which is where War Horse was originally presented. We actually saw it at its new location at the New London Theatre, oddly enough. Then the second theater is the Littleton, and that is the traditional proscenium theater, kind of like the Polk, even though Jackson is kind of a proscenium theater as well, like if you're looking at it at a TPAC perspective. And then their other theater, it's really hard, I think it's the Klotzo Theater. I can't remember the name. I know So is at the very end of it, and I believe it starts with a C. But I'm pretty sure it's the Klotzo Theater, which is their black box. Now, interesting fact about the National is that its first artistic director was Sir Laurence Olivier, hence where the Olivier Theatre comes from. And we got to go on the backstage tour, so we got to see each theater and how they all interconnect backstage, and some history of the place. A cool thing that they did is the building is almost entirely concrete. But what they did was they built concrete blocks, and they used this process called shuttering, which is basically where they put cement into these wooden frames and compressed it. So, and then they would take the wooden frame off once it is dried, but it gave the cement a wood effect, so it looks organic yet cement at the same time. So the theater has this really cool feeling to it. It's right on the bank on the south side of London, on the South Bank of London, and it was one of the first theaters, the modern theaters, to be built on the South Bank. So that was really, really interesting. We then had the rest of the day to ourselves, where me and a group of people just went to lunch at the only one restaurant that I have found. Not that this really matters to me, but I remember my mother telling me about a friend of hers who had come to London who managed to find the only restaurant here that does free refills. You see, in Europe, you don't get free refills. You get one drink, even water. But we found this restaurant that if you get lunch, you can get the lunch menu, you can actually get free refills. So everyone was excited about that. And then we got ready for the grand night of our last performance as a class to go see Viva Forever, the Spice Girls musical. Now, Viva Forever, it was an interesting production. Not much in the way of storyline, no artistic value at all. It is truly a money scheme to get more money into the Spice Girls brand. However, if you're looking for a fun night of, laughs and not so much, meat and drama, it's probably a good show for you. I mean, it's fun. My professor pointed out, whether you liked the show or not, you left the theater smiling. So obviously they were doing something right. Viva Forever is actually written by Jennifer Saunders, and for all of those who like British television at all, Jennifer Saunders is one of the people behind Absolutely Fabulous. She actually performs in Absolutely Fabulous. I don't believe it's still airing now, but that is her thing. It's very along the lines of Mamma Mia Girl Power. However, Mamma Mia has a little bit more storyline than Viva Forever. Interesting fact, for all of those who know that I'm a fan of the 39 Steps, the designer for Viva Forever, the costume and set designer for Viva Forever, was also the costume and set designer for the 39 Steps here in London at the Criterion. It's a little cool bit of information. So tomorrow is a very early day. We're getting up brightly at the crack of dawn, and we're going to Dover and to Canterbury, and then we have a lecture when we get back. So yes, day 9 was fabulous. Viva Forever was definitely an experience, one that I will not soon forget. So until then, cheerio, old chap. P.S. One interesting fact about the National Theatre is while it only has 3 theaters that are that are performance spaces, you can actually see up to 9 shows at the National Theater in a week, because the National Theater runs under what they call repertory theater, kind of like the Tennessee Rep, but not really. True repertory theater, which means that you have different shows running in repertoire at the same time, and repertory at the same time. And the day we went to the National, they were actually in a day where they actually switched the shows. So, and the only theater that does not have 2 shows in it right now is the Olivier Theater, where the Magistrate is being performed. The Littleton had 2 shows in it. They were setting up for a show called People, which is a new show that was commissioned especially for the National Theater. And its set is really cool, because it's actually the same size as the stage, but it's actually its own giant wagon, which will actually lift off the stage and roll behind it. So the next show in the Littleton, which is called The Animals and the Children Took to the Streets, will be performed when People is not. It usually runs about 5 days each, and it runs back and forth within each other. And at the Clotso, they were changing over to this show called I can't remember the title of it, but I know that it's about these 2 people who are both on this experimental pill. Effect, that's the name of the show. The show is called Effect. About these 2 people who are on an experimental pill, and one is taking the real pill and one is taking the placebo. And it's about how they're interacting, and how some of it is mind over matter and all the things that entails. But when Effect is not in the Clotso, it is Hansel and Gretel right now. So, interesting fact about the National, it has actually 9 shows that you can see while it is running in repertory. So for real this time, I will talk to you all soon. Cheerio, old chap.